Hey, Monica, did you know it's now even easier to listen to Round the Hay Bale podcast?
What? Really? How easy?
That's right. All you have to do is say, Alexa, play Round the Hay Bale podcast.
Playing Round the Hay Bale podcast on Apple Music.
Ooh, we fancy. Tune in to Round the Hay Bale every Monday at 9 a.m. Central. Round the Hay Bale is brought to you by... With gardening season in full bloom, Cayce certified organic products are just what your garden needs.
From fertilizing your orchards to feeding your soil, Cayce's calcium-based fertilizer gives your plants the essential minerals they need to thrive.
Applying Cayce to agricultural soils and waters has been proven to increase plant and crop yields while making vegetables and grains healthier and more nutritious.
In addition, Cayce can help restore the nutrient balance in animals when they're fed plants grown using Cayce in both soil and water.
To check out all of Cayce's organic products, visit cayce.com and use our promo code HAYBALE for 10% off of your purchase.
Grab a cup of joe and gather round the hay bale with your hosts, Alicia from Country Mama Musings, Cayce from Ormsby Farms, and Monica from Bland's Promised Land Ranch. Now, here they are. Hey, y'all. Hey.
Hey y'all, hey, welcome back to season 4 of Round the Hay Bale Unscripted. We're so glad you could join us for this week's episode. I'm Alicia.
What's up, y'all? It's Cayce.
And I'm Monica. Welcome back.
Beep, beep. Hey friends, guess what? Today you are joining us at the Round the Hay Bale drive-thru, where we're going to be talking about all things fast and fabulous from your pantry and your kitchen for your family. What are some quick things that you can just grab and go and tell your kids, hop in the car, drive on over to Mama's pantry and grab something off the shelf because Mama's busy today. We're going to go over some things like meals in a jar, some easy things that you can, some things that you can stick in Mylar bags, some things you can stick in the freezer that's going to make things super smooth for that drive-through experience with your family. So let's get started. I'm going to toss this over to Cayce. And I want Cayce to share with all of us what is his favorite beep, beep, hey, y'all, hey, round the hay bale drive-through meal.
Well, beep, beep, I would like fries with that. Let me just say, I love convenience food, and I think we talk about it a lot on the podcast. Homesteading, farming is super busy. It's a busy lifestyle. I think a lot of people think we're just sitting out in overalls drinking lemonade, but homesteading is busy. It's quick. And sometimes you forget what time it is, and then you look and it's 6:30 and you have nothing pulled out of the freezer or veggies cut up that you were planning for dinner. And so having those convenient foods is the homesteading drive-through. One thing that I love, and I'm sure Alicia will touch more on this, is I love meals in a jar. Meals in a jar meaning freeze-dried or dehydrated food that you reconstitute with water. It's quick, it's fast. I actually learned from Alicia about funeral potatoes or scallop potatoes, cheesy potatoes, whatever you want to call them. And I kind of turned it into my own little Kraft mac and cheese kind of throwdown. And when we're having a busy day on the farm, popping open one of those, literally all you do is you pop it open, you dump it into a dish, casserole dish. I always do 1 jar and 2 jars of water is how I kind of like feel it out. So if it's 1 quart full of the stuff, you fill it with 2 quarts of water. I let it sit for about maybe 30, 45 minutes and then to cook it. I want it to get nice and mushy and thick. And it's so easy. But I think having the freeze-dried meats in them too, it could be like a one-stop shop of like a hamburger mac and cheese. I love Hamburger Helper. I don't know about you ladies. I love Hamburger Helper, but I hate the preservatives that are in it and how bad it is for you. And if I could do it knowing what's in it, it just makes it that much healthier and that much easier to dump, pour, bake, go. Beep, beep. I'm passing it off to Monica in the drive-thru.
Okay, so for me, I don't really do a lot of dehydrated or freeze dried stuff. I mean, there are things that I do like to put into jars for grab to go. Usually it's my leftovers. That's my favorite thing. I put them in jars and I can them. Cookies. I definitely like to buy some things at the store and put in jars. But I think one of my favorites when it comes to
You are the leftover queen.
I do like leftovers. We have leftovers. I always make extra. And then I never know what kid's going to want what. Eric says I cater to the kids too much. But you know what? When you have a big family, not everybody's going to like what you're making. And you know what? I know there are some people out there that are like, well, if I make it, my kids are going to eat it. Okay. Well, you know what? That's all fine and dandy for you. But guess what? I honestly want my kids to have a good relationship with food. And I'm not the one that's going to sit there and make them finish every bit of it. I definitely like my kids to try things. I encourage them to try new things, especially when we're growing in the garden. But I want my kids to have a good overall relationship with eating. I want them to eat to be healthy. I want them to look at food in a positive way and not as a comfort. I don't want them doing that. That can be a very detrimental thing long term. And so I'm trying to develop that with them too. So I do cater to my kids a few times, a day. And I do offer them things that I know that they're going to like. I don't make meals that nobody likes in this household just because me or Eric like it. Sometimes if I do that, especially when it comes to him, I make things for him and then I make things for the kid. But I will say my favorite thing to prepare and have for grab and go are seasonings. I absolutely love making my homemade seasonings. And I think it constitutes a little bit of grab and go because if I don't have the right seasonings, I can't make what I'm making. There are so many times when I want to make taco meat or fajitas or some sort of ranch chicken or whatever. You can take the most basic meal and make it, you can level it up with the right seasonings. But if you're watching your sugar or watching your salt or watching your silicone dioxide intake or whatever it's going to be and all these different things. If you look, for instance, at one of these name brand old El Paso, maybe, you can see that they have like cornstarch and silicon dioxide as an anti-caking agent. They also have maltodextrin. Hello, that's not good on your tummy. Some people actually have responses to stuff like that. Like I know people that have problems with eating maltodextrin. Why do you need that? Instead, you can make your own taco seasoning super easy with clean ingredients, chili powder, cumin, pepper, black pepper, garlic powder, a little bit of salt, and you can control the salt. Because, hey, I make like a quadruple recipe. It calls for 2 teaspoons of salt in some of these recipes. I use half the salt because I don't want all that salt. My family has a history of high blood pressure. I'm not doing it. So therefore, I control what's going in, and I love every bit of it. I love knowing that I can control what's in my seasonings. So that's one of my grab and go. And you can do so many seasonings, like so many. It's just more than ranch and taco seasoning. Cause I think that's what a lot of people think. Oh, I can make my 2 seasonings. Make your own everything. Why not? Alicia.
Monica is at this drive-through. She's the one who goes through the drive-through and she wants the 5 different sauces for her nuggets.
You better believe I do.
You have to have variety.
Yes.
You do have to have
Yes.
spice of life. I mean, who wants to go through a drive-through and be limited on your sauces?
Yes.
You have to think.
I want hot mustard.
Available.
I want honey mustard. I want sweet and sour. I want the sweet chili. I want all of them because not everybody agrees on everything. And because I need that variety, I need to know, and I need to know that my seasonings are healthy for my people. Because you know what? Yeah, they're going to drink a soda every now and then, and they're going to eat garbage. They're going to eat Skittles and M&Ms, and they're going to eat crap. But at least I know that some of the things that I'm putting into their body, I have control of certain things, and I can help that to be a good, healthy option. And I'm controlling the sugar. I'm controlling the extra junk by making it myself. And it's easy to do that kind of stuff. That's an easy place to start. So if you're out there and you're listening, you're like, I don't have anything in jars. I don't know what to put. You know what? Make your own seasonings. Make your own try to make your own, ketchup. Get you a little bolder after you make your taco seasoning and your fajita seasoning and your ranch seasoning. Go make some other seasonings. You can make your own soup seasonings, right? I mean, what is it? The Lipton soup packets, the onion soup and all them. You can make all those too. And I'm sure it has a lot less garbage in it when you make it yourself.
And you make your own barbecue sauce, you won't go back to bottled. There's
For real,
such
for
a
real.
difference.
I make my own barbecue sauce and put it in jars. And yeah, my kids get psyched when I make it. But that's one of my grab and go. It's the condiments. It's the seasonings. It's the extra. Because even the thing is like, preppers, a lot of preppers are out there and they're saying, it's great if you're having beans. And we've talked about it on past episodes. It's great if you grab the beans and you grab the rice. And we discussed that with Ann Dale in another episode where we talk about some of these things that you can grab and things you might need. But if you don't have the salt and the seasonings, you don't have the cumin and the chili powder and all those things prepared. It's just easy to make the ranch, the taco, the Lipton soup mixes, all the things so that you can make them. I mean, I will say when I have chicken for these kids, they're just like, great, we're having chicken again. No, mama's going to make some good chicken. I'm going to put some seasonings on it and it's going to be good. Make your own barbecue flavor seasoning. Make your own seasonings. Put it in a jar. Have it up there as a grab and go to spice up your dinner. So that's my drive-through, grab and go, easy homemade stuff because I'm not grabbing all this stuff. And so, Alicia, what is your grab and go? What is your thing that you would grab on those quick nights when you need to grab something or that you can offer your family or even for yourself?
Well, I have put up in my pantry several quart jars of different types of taco and rice soup. And everything is in the jar. It's much like what Cayce just said, and it is such an easy grab and go. If I'm not feeling well, if we've had a long day, and I really don't want to put anything too fancy together, I can grab that soup off the shelf. And it's all dehydrated and freeze-dried ingredients. And I have chicken chili soup. I have just regular ground beef and rice taco soup. I've got some that have a beef substitute chunk, so we can have a little bit more beefy, meaty, hearty chili and rice soup. I've got, I probably have 3 dozen of them in there right now. And there are times when my husband will say, why don't you just grab one of those soups and let's cook that up? And it's just the two of us here. And it's just like Cayce said before, I take one of the soup jars, and I believe I've done a video on these, and 2 jars of water, and I just put it in a big old stock pot, and I cook that until the rice is soft. And not only will we get that first meal out of it, but then the next day, everything has soaked up that little bit extra water. And so now it's a burrito filling. So then we have burritos the following day. I can get, at least for the two of us, 3 solid meals out of one jar that has cost me a fraction of what it would be if I were to, put everything together on the fly. So I really like having those. Many of our listeners don't know that I have some health issues. And one of the reasons for me putting those up is because if I end up in the hospital, I want to make sure that my son, my daughter-in-law, even my grandson can come over and throw something together real quick for my husband if he's been at the hospital with me all day. Or if I've been up for tests and I need to come back, I can just do that real quick for my husband. And it's easy and it's nutritious. I know what's in there. So I really love the taco soups. But in addition to that, one thing that I've really been turning to lately, and we've talked about this in other episodes as well, and it's something I'm doing today. My Nesco pressure canner is out today, and I'm making more Fiesta beans. So I found that my pantry shelves were getting low. There's so much you can do with your home canned beans. And I've got to tell you, I can't stand the taste of beans from the store now, like refried beans in a can. Oh, it tastes like dog food to me now. I love my home canned beans. So I make refried beans. I can make a bean and cheese dip. I can use it for tostadas. I can use it for burritos. I feel like I'm Forrest Gump's friend that just goes on and on and on about the shrimp when I talk about my beans. I love them. And I know Cayce does too. Cayce? I know you want to jump in on the bean train here at the Hey Y'all Hey drive-through.
Choo choo. Yes, choo
No,
choo.
so
We're
you
trying.
say toot toot is what
Oh,
you would say.
oh,
Toot
toot
toot.
toot.
Get it? The
Oh,
beans.
So,
yeah.
toot, toot
We thank you,
on the bean
Monica, for
train.
your cheesy jokes. We thank you for
Yeah.
those.
All
Toot
these
toot.
kids, you're
Yeah.
welcome.
No, I have to say I agree with this bean stuff. And we're trying to like peer pressure Monica into trying the beans. Because it is such a convenient food. And friend, I have to ask you, have you tried fajitas in a jar?
I have not done fajitas in a jar or burritos in a jar as of yet. No.
So I have tried fajitas in a jar, and it is not dehydrated food. It's actually cooked, fully cooked. Now, we all know that Alicia is the resident vegetarian here. The way that I'm going to tell them for our listeners is meat, but I'm talking you put your onions and peppers already cooked at the bottom, and then you put in your seasoned cooked chicken strips and some of your home canned black beans on top of it, and then pressure can that. That is a convenience food. You pop it open, you dump it into your pan, stir it around, heat it up, slap it on a homemade tortilla, and now I'm starving again. And we shoot very late at night, and I'm still hungry. So
Because
this
you
is
worked
just
hard in the garden today. I want to say
yes.
I've been tempted to do something along those lines because I do see a lot of things for the burritos in a jar. And it's like, I really want to do that. But because I'm a vegetarian, I do happen to enjoy and consume meat substitutes, freeze dried and dehydrated meat substitutes. They're plant based. And so I know everybody's freaking out over that right now. I'm not eating a bunch of bugs. Um, it's carrots and mushrooms and soybeans. It's vegetables, but I don't know how that will stand up to a pressure canning meal. So I think what I need to do is I need to give it a couple of go rounds in my Nesco pressure canner, see how it works. I don't know what the longevity shelf life is, though. I don't know what the shelf life will be once I reconstitute that TVP, the texturized vegetable protein. I just don't know. I'm going to have to look that up because it's something I definitely want to try. Monica?
So I was thinking about it, I get every now and then we get, the questions, why would you can this? Or why do you have this in your pantry? And, when I did that video on the putting the meat in the pantry, I had a lot of people say, that's disgusting. Why would you put meat in your pantry? And I'm like, look, this is for a quick and easy meal for my kids. One of the things I have in my pantry almost at all times is taco meat. I always have ground beef of some sort or meatballs. We raise our own beef and we raise our own pork. So it's easy for me because I have that extra. I always have it in my freezer. And one of those things is when we get a new animal processed, we do take from the freezer to make space. And I want to put things in my shelf because if we lose a freezer, power goes out or something happens, I want to make sure it's safe on my shelf and something like that. It happens here. So I always have that kind of meats and people are like, that's disgusting. Why would you have meat in your pantry? But think about it. People have meat in their pantry all the time. They have tuna fish or canned chicken or whatever it is. People have that. So even in reference to like, maybe meals in a jar, not just like canned or leftover meals that look like they're ready, but the dehydrated and the powdered things. That's something that people eat all the time. If you look at the scalloped potatoes that you buy in a box at the store, or you look at the Kraft or Velveeta mac and cheese mixes, or you look at even the simple powdered ideas, we go to the store all the time and get hot cocoa packets. We buy oatmeal with freeze-dried fruit bits already in them and a ton of sugar and garbage that you don't need probably in your body as well when you get those. You buy pancake mixes. You buy maybe different cake mixes, brownie mixes. All of these you can make, put into a jar, and every single ingredient that goes in them. So if you wanted to try something like this, it's not that far in left field. If you think about it, guys, it's really something that you can make a very conscious effort in putting things into your body that you know what they are. So that's where I'm looking at it, as the drive-through aspect of it, because they say that, it's not just about homesteading or prepping. It's about really knowing what you're putting in your body, right? So when you make these meals in a jar, you know what you're putting in them. When you make I love having hot cocoa mixes on the ready. I have a jar of hot cocoa mix that we can simply add to milk, because we actually have milk that we'll just put it in, and we control that almond milk or regular milk, because I have kids that have dairy sensitivities. So I love knowing what I'm putting in, because then I know what my kids are consuming and I know how to alter it for my family as well. Pancake mixes, sometimes they have like egg powder in them. I don't need that. Not when my husband's allergic to eggs. So it's nice to know that I'm controlling the ease and the convenience for my own family that way. Plus, it's a whole lot easier to grab a jar of something pre-made than it is to start whipping it up, put it in the bowl and going for it there. So it's really nice that, that way. So Cayce, did you have something you wanted to add?
I wanted to say that that was so important that you brought that up, Monica. We always joke because Monica's the super prepared one, like with notepad ready when we're ready to shoot. But nobody really truly thinks about that. If you literally sit down right now and look in your pantry, what meals, quote unquote, in a jar do you have that were made by somebody else? Brownie mix, Duncan Hine cake mix, the Hungry Jack pancake mix. Those are all meals in a jar. If you really want to get down to the nitty gritty with it, and why wouldn't you want it healthier for your family? I mean, unless you just want your whole family to be fat and have health problems, then you go, girl, you do your thing. But if you want a healthier lifestyle for you and your children, why not try it out? I bet that you may like the homemade version better, because I know we've switched a lot of our stuff. And I wanted to ask Monica a question, because I am a meat eater and I know Monica cans a lot of her meat. I wanted to ask Monica, what is your favorite meat style besides the tacos? Because we know that's how Monica got famous, was canned taco meat. But what other meats do you like to do? You said meatballs. Now, do you actually make the meatball and is it in ball form? That's weird for me saying. Is it in ball form?
It is in ball form. So, so I have a meatball recipe. Years ago when we started raising our own chickens, we found out that Eric had an egg allergy. So he went 35 years almost of his life, 34 years of his life, and could eat chicken eggs all the time. And then all of a sudden we started raising our own chickens in Maryland. And apparently he's allergic to Maryland chickens and then all the eggs that came after. I don't know what it was. I don't know if the proteins in our homegrown eggs, I don't know if it spiked something in his body. Whatever happened, there was a very, very serious reaction that started to occur when he ate eggs of any sort. And we even tested him out. His mom would make holiday cookies right after that. And she was like, oh, it's fine. And he was like, Mom, is there egg in this? I'm itching throat now. And she's like, oh, it's just one. He was like, okay, I'm going to die now. So we saw the allergy. It was real. But when it started happening, I started being really conscious of what I was doing. So I changed a lot of the way we were eating. So I didn't have access to duck eggs and I had no idea that was a thing. Obviously I thought ducks laid eggs, but I had no idea that it could be different for people with allergies, right? So I immediately went to eggless everything, because just the chance that the cookies that I was making could touch. I'll never forget one time I made Christmas cookies for my kids and myself, and then Christmas cookies for Eric. And I'm just going to be honest, eggless cookies, not the best. Kind of suck, especially when you're still learning. When you're first learning, if you're a pro at eggless cookies, boom, have at it. I got really good at making them without eggs, but at first they're nasty. And so I was stacking them and I accidentally stacked an egg cookie on top of a eggless cookie by accident. I was like, oh, wrong stack. And I moved it. It may have sat there for 3 or 4 minutes as they came out of the oven. And I'll never forget when Eric took a bite out of his eggless cookies. The next day, he was like, Monica, this one must have an egg in it. And I was like, it doesn't. He was like, no, this one does. I was like, yours are completely different, Eric. Trust me. That is definitely an eggless egg. Eggless cookie. Trust me. He was like, no, well, just that little bit of touching that cross-contaminated it. And I felt so guilty. So I learned really quickly to just cook without eggs. And doing that, I learned how to cook a lot of paleo recipes. And all this goes back to the meatballs, trust me. And so I learned a lot of different recipes. And when I did, I found out that I had to start making a lot of my own things because meatballs in the store, the ones you buy at the Walmart or the wherever you're going, they have egg in them or they have egg powder in them or something. So I started learning how to make a lot of my own things, a lot of my own seasonings. And I really dug in deep with that part of having control over my food. And so I found a great recipe for meatballs. And so I like quadruple it because my family goes through meatballs like crazy. And I found that canning them, having them in jars in the ball form. So I cook them. I actually cook them almost completely through. And right when they're almost done, I stick them in the jars and then I basically just dry pack them. I mean, dry pack, is that what you call it? Dry packing, where you don't add a lot of liquid. Now, I've done it both ways. I prefer now with a little bit of beef broth. I do add my homemade beef broth to it. Now I add some water or some beef broth to it because I like it better when it has that liquid to it now. It makes it easier for me to heat up. But I will say that having meatballs in my pantry right now, either dry packed or with liquid, it makes the most simple dinner. Because when I have an 11-year-old that can pull a quart jar of meatballs out of the pantry, put it into a dish, on the stove, or put it into a microwave safe dish and put it in the microwave and just reheat it, add some marinara and some mozzarella cheese on himself, a toasted bun. He can have a meatball sub for lunch if he wants to, for crying out loud. They've made that for dinner before without me. My homemade spaghetti marinara sauce or whatever with some regular meatballs that are already seasoned with Italian seasoning. They just put it together with a little bit of mozzarella and a roll and they've got dinner and I don't need to be in there because there's been nights where maybe I was recording a podcast and my people haven't eaten yet. That's what they do. They grab something easy to go. So I absolutely do really like having the meatballs at the ready. I do like having the canned rabbit in there as well. Because when I can my rabbit, I put it in there with bones and everything. And I don't want to be too graphic, Alicia. If this bothering you, I don't have to talk about it. But when I can actually put an entire, I can put the thighs, like chicken thighs, is what they look like. And I can put
just fainted, listeners.
She fainted.
If you're wondering, she just fainted.
But I can put the majority of it, the thighs and stuff, in a jar, and my kids can pull that out and make a great quick meal for fajitas or nachos or something easy. We all like Mexican food here. We all like Mexican food. All three of us. I know we all like, fiesta beans. We're all talking about it. But yeah, I really like having it. And that meat is so tender. It's just fantastic. So yeah, that's probably one of my favorites. But if you think about it too, I wanted to say when you were talking as well, people start homesteading. If you're listening to a podcast like Round the Hay Bale, where we talk about homesteading and prepping and those types of things, then you obviously want to take control of your life in a certain way to either grow your own food, or maybe you're thinking about growing your own food, or you're thinking about growing food for other people. Maybe you have a health condition that you need to take control of that. Taking the time, even if you don't have a big garden or can grow your own animals or whatever it is, taking the time to make small steps, like maybe just making your own taco seasoning or your own ranch seasoning, taking control of those small things first, those little changes, those little baby steps, making your own brownie mix for a jar, making your own oatmeal packets. That is not hard. You can get freeze-dried strawberries at the Dollar General, y'all. Okay. They make them in little bags, the snack bags now, right? The little freeze-dried fruits. Get those. Get yourself some oatmeal. There's simple recipes online. I have a friend that does YouTube videos on that. I absolutely fell in love with that. I taught teenagers to do that this year in my homesteading class. It is not hard. It just takes time and it takes energy. But if you want to take charge of some areas of your life, that's a great place to start.
And
Cayce?
I have to toss out that Alicia has one of the most amazing ranch seasoning recipe videos. If you have not seen it, it's the only one you should watch on YouTube. It's
true.
It's so good.
It's very good. It's fantastic.
I think we should have a challenge, ladies, because most of y'all who are listening to this know that we do a Tuesday morning talk show the next day after our podcast comes out. And so the three of us, what I'm challenging the three of us is for our Hey Y'all Hey morning show for us to find a cool homemade recipe for a standard meal in a jar thing that you could buy at the store, whether it's a brownie mix, whether it's a, I'm trying to think of different ones right now, a mac
Brownie
and
mix,
cheese kind of
pancake
thing,
mix,
pancake
hot
mix,
cocoa mix.
hot cocoa mix, you know,
Spiced chai tea.
you
Spice chai
go,
tea.
girl, you spice chai tea
Yes.
it. So I'm challenging. So make sure that y'all are tuning in tomorrow to see what all three of us decide
Great, I got
to give to
homework.
you. We have homework and we shoot
Yeah.
this pretty far in advance, so we have time. But
Okay.
I think it's
I'm
so
on it.
interesting that we can make our own and be healthier. And I've learned all of my stuff from Alicia, so I'm going to pass this now on to Alicia on her seasoning. Girl, you better chai tea
Well,
it down.
oh, I've made homemade chai tea and I've given it out as Christmas gifts in just a little tiny little mason jar with my own spiced chai tea mix in it.
Oh,
And
how cool.
either you love chai tea or you don't. So, but I love it, and the majority of the people who I gifted it to loved it. If it's not your thing, it's not your thing. But the thing I was going to bring it back up to, the point is, you can make your own pancake mix, store it in a quart mason jar, then add your wet ingredients right into the wet mason jar, give it a good shake, and pour your pancakes right out of that. It doesn't get any easier than that. And you know what you have in the jar. So you can have your pancake mix. I learned a wonderful pancake mix from Alton Brown. And maybe he'll chime in and say hello. Maybe we should do one of those little at things when we post it and put at Alton Brown. He has a great pancake mix. And so I make it. Keep it in my storage containers in the pantry. But it's really easy to just put your measured amount into a quart jar, and then you're going to add your melted butter and your buttermilk to it, and then your fresh raspberries or blueberries, and give it a good shake, and then you just pour it right out onto your griddle from there. It's so easy. They charge a lot of money. If you go to the store and you look where your pancake mixes are, you can get a little shakeable pancake mix in a little bottle. And if you did penny for penny how much that's going to cost you, it's insane. Do it yourself with your mason jars. And you can add all of the ingredients that are in it. You put it together yourself, and you can make some really nice pancakes with that. But the trick is the butter, the melted butter and the buttermilk. It's so good. But there are so many things that you can just grab and go, whether it be your spices like Monica mentioned. I love making my fiesta mix to put in with my beans. And I have all kinds like the ranch dressing, which I made it for my husband the other day. He says, I don't know, there's something off. Well, I've cut back on the salt a little bit. So add a little more salt. That'll kick it up a notch. It's okay. But they're just, you have to start thinking outside the box. There's nothing like making a change in how you live day to day. Or there's, sometimes you don't even have a choice. Sometimes life throws a big rock in your way. For instance, like my health issues. It can either be a stumbling block or it can be a stepping stone, and you have to choose which way to make it. So when I was diagnosed with cancer, I started coming up with things that were going to be easy to make, quick to grab, beep, beep, go through the drive-through, grab what you want, Grandpa, and just cook it up and let's get going. So, one thing that I was talking with my co-host about earlier is I've even taken some of my meals in a jar and I will place them in the Mylar bags and then seal them so that they're shelf stable for, 10, 15, 20 years. And those are in the pantry in a 5-gallon bucket with gamma lids so that nothing can get to them, because rodents will chew through your Mylar bags. It's not pretty. We've had it happen once. We do live on a farm. We do get rodents here on occasion. And boy, when they chew through that, it is a mess. But I keep it in the 5-gallon buckets. And when my son and husband go camping, I just give them a couple of those bags and say, you know what? Cut open the top, pour some hot water in on top that you've had out over the campfire, let it sit for 20, 30 minutes, and you've got, chili or stew or whatever it is that I've said. I've even made, and no joke, I don't think I did a video on this because it was before I started my YouTube channel. I actually have in my pantry right now a setup for chicken and dumplings. So it's the chicken, the vegetables, the sauce, The noodles, it's all in the jar. And then on the very top of the jar, I have the biscuit mix in a bag. It's all in the jar. It's all vacuum sealed, so it's going to stay nice. I take out the biscuit mix. I dump all of my stuff. What am I making? I'm making chicken and dumplings. I put all of that into a container. I put my 2 things of water with it and I cook that. And then when it's just about done, I add a little bit of water to my biscuit mix and I plop it on top and it makes the dumplings. And it is so good. So I think I don't think there's, you know what? I made one that my husband did not care for, and I'll share that with you real quick. And it was chicken and stuffing. He didn't like how the stuffing turned out, but he liked the chicken and the veggies and all that. But there's so many things that are available to you that are freeze dried or dehydrated that you can make all of these fun meals with and just be creative. And, some are going to be a hit, some are going to be a miss. What works, you make more of, keep them in your pantry, and then your family can grab them when they need them. Monica, what are your thoughts?
So I think that was a great point you made when you said that Papa Jim didn't like one of your things you tried. So I think that's where we need to also talk about too, is when you're doing these recipes, you're doing these seasonings and meals in a jar. When you start doing this stuff, it's just like with gardening and farming. We always tell Cayce, don't go crazy. Don't go get 50 chickens and 35 turkeys at once. Don't be planting 800 feet. I don't even know how that, if you're measuring it, whatever. Don't plant a garden too big for your own britches, right? You don't want to have to be setting up a tent and 105-degree weather and trying to see if you can stay alive during the day to pick all your tomatoes or your green beans or your whatever. You just can't.
Triggering.
But it's too much sometimes. So the thing is that you can work your way up to it, right? And you can do that. It's just like when you start walking or running, you start out small. You don't just say,
baby steps.
I woke up this morning. I think I'm going to run 5 miles. Yeah. Okay. If you want to die, if you've never run before, no. So it's just like with that, when you're starting with these homemade things, make sure not only you're starting out small, but you're trying it out, because it might be so amazing that you just put up, 8 jars of chicken and dumplings in your pantry. But if literally that's the worst recipe in the world, you just wasted all that time and money on the chicken and dumplings. Because if everything's hitting the fan and you lost your job and your mama's sick and your brother's in a wheelchair and you got to get something out of the out of the pantry, you're going to be like, oh, well, it's either chicken and dumplings or chicken and dumplings. And you're like, this ain't going to work for me. You're just not going to be happy about eating it. And you might have all these amazing seasonings. And then you throw one of these awesome seasonings because you heard on a podcast one time that the homemade ranch seasoning was the best, but you forgot to add one of the key ingredients and you never tested it out. And you throw that mess and you're like, this is nasty. You don't want to put yourself in a situation. So make sure you enjoy what you try it. Do it and then try it. I was asking Cayce, I was like, okay, you're making these mac and cheeses in a jar. Have you made it on video? Have you tried it? And he was like, yeah, no. It's like Kraft mac and cheese.
Well, he's eaten it. He just hasn't shown everybody how it turns out.
So I'm like, I need to see somebody eat this. I need to see you enjoy this.
I need to see proof.
I need proof that this is good. But I also need to check and see if this is something my kids would eat. Because if that's the case, then I'm definitely turning my wheels are turning here and thinking, what can I get into the pantry? But I feel like this is such a great way to start off that type of prepping. We feel comfortable a lot of times when we have a savings account. We have money put away. Not many people have that, but they do. If you have a 401k, you feel comfortable knowing your 401k. You maybe used to feel comfortable with having a 401k. But the thing is that times have changed. There are certain things that make you feel comfortable, right? Knowing that you have a heater or extra wood in the winter when you deal with that, it makes you feel comfortable. So some people, knowing that they have food in their pantry makes them feel comfort. It's a level of comfort and peace when they're going through a new season, because you never know what's going to happen. And it doesn't have to be that you lost your job and your mama's sick. Not everybody's going to get cancer, thankfully. But if that happens, you should have some things put away. And
I did not. When I was diagnosed, I did not have things put away.
Yeah.
And it was a big eye opener for me.
Yeah. And so
that needs to be done.
exactly. And so that was kind of a wake up call for her to say, hey, I need to have something so that my boys can help take care of me better and taking care of themselves, because she may not have been able to eat all that stuff that was happening, but that she could have had put up. But at least she knew that her husband and her kids were taken care of, because as a mom, as parents, even when we're feeling down and out, we're still pretty much worried about all the good ones are anyway. Okay. I'm just going to be honest with you. If you're a good parent, you're still going to worry about your people when you're
Grab
sick.
your
Okay?
popcorn, ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, I'm serious. Like when I get sick, I'm always like trying to take care of everybody else still. And I'm always worried, even though if I'm trying to wallow in my own nasty and sickness, I'm still feeling bad that everybody else is, doing things without me. And I'm like, let me go make you something. And people are like, don't touch my stuff, Mom, you're sick. But that's what good parents do. They worry about people no matter what. They get involved.
Monica's got her drive-in. She's got her drive up, drive in, drive something. She's got it all set up for family to just go to the pantry.
I do. And that's what I want.
What they need.
But I also need to think about too, I love what you did. I love that you have a bucket ready with a bottle of water and things to put in too, because I have water, but I don't have everything together. It's easy for my 11-year-old to come in here and make himself a meatball sub because I have all the things. They're just in different areas. But if things were dark, if there was worry on his mind, or if there was a lot of things going on and there was anxiety and pressure around him because we didn't have electricity and people were injured or something was happening, would my teenagers, would my husband, would I be able to put all the things together and go, okay, well, I got to go get the bread over here and I need to make a new loaf of this, or I need to do this. If you have it together and organized, it just takes some of that extra chaos out of your brain. And I know everybody's brain is wired like mine. I definitely get anxious when I don't know things. I can feel that. I know that I get a little concerned when I don't know the plan, when I don't know what's going on. I like to be organized that way. But I feel like this is just one way of kind of taking control of the unknown, even though you really have no control of the unknown. But there's that little bit of comfort in it, right?
Oh, agreed.
Okay. Alicia, do you have something to add to this?
I do. Thank you. I'm going to jump on the Cayce train here because he's challenged us to something.
Toot, toot.
Toot, toot. I'm going to throw another one out there because since we're talking about going through the hey, y'all, hey, around the hay bale drive-through, nobody can go through a drive-through without getting French fries. Am I right? You got to have French fries. I want to know if my two co-hosts, because I'm guilty, I've not done it. Has anybody dry canned julienne potatoes or potatoes that are in the shape of French fries?
Can I just tell you that has been on my list for
I want to
6 months.
Oh
Do you
my
know how many
gosh.
10-pound bags? I bought several 10-pound bags of potatoes. I have watched them shrivel and die in my pantry because I'm like, oh, I'm getting to you next week, mister. I'm getting to you, Mr. Bag.
French fries. French fries. We need to make French fries, can them in dry canning measure, which is a rebel thing. Pop them in the pantry.
We're rebels here, Alicia.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then pull them out and put them in the air fryer and see how they turn out.
Well, I watched Cayce can potatoes.
Yes.
Did you can with the skins on, Cayce?
I did. I know. I'm slap my hand.
We're going to get letters. We're going to get letters.
I know. I have been naughty. But that is where most of the nutrition is of the potato. I'm sorry. I don't know because I don't talk to people from 1800, but I'm pretty sure that they did not peel all of their potatoes before they did their canning. Because that is where the nutrition is. But a side note,
if somebody wants to can their potatoes and they want to peel them, as long as they're washed well, they can put the peels in the freezer and then use them in their veggie stock. So there are different ways to do it.
There are different ways to do it. I can mine with the potatoes on. But see, I have not dry packed. I always do water. And I know we're going to get letters, but I want to try.
What do you do with them when you're done? So you have them in your pantry.
Girl,
what do you do with them?
Let me tell you. Let me straighten up my microphone.
Remember, my husband don't like soups. Okay, so I can't. Canning soups isn't like a thing for me. My people don't like soup.
No, this is so simple. Let me tell you, we are fat kids here at Ormsby Farm, and we love anything potato.
Ditto.
anything potato is one,
Yes.
it's cheap, it's easy. And I learned this recipe from a YouTuber, and I was like, I did what Monica said, try it once, do a couple jars, test it out, see if you're either gonna, gonna like it before you do 24 quart jars and put it in your pantry. But I dice up the potatoes. We haven't cooked them; they're still raw. I put them in cold jar. I mean, I've cleaned the jars; they are clean, y'all. I do clean my canning stuff before using it. And I put a teaspoon of garlic powder, onion powder, parsley, and basil, and fill it up to 1 inch with lukewarm water from the tap. Pressure can it. Now, here's the mind-blowing experience. Are we ready? When you pop that top off, okay, you drain the water. Drain the water that's in there. You dump all of that into the air fryer, 400 for 15 minutes. It is the crispiest, crunchiest
So yummy.
potatoes, like Waffle House. I'm talking like Waffle House
He has
side.
made French fries.
Well, I haven't made the
but not in
long
the
French
shape.
fries.
And he's added water. I'm talking about dry pack.
Okay, because see, like on the reels though, I can't even make fresh French fries, okay? Every time I try fresh French fries for any reason at all, they end up coming out like garbage and my people revolt and then I have to throw them to the pigs because they're like, what is this mess that you're offering us, mother?
Monica, what are
awful.
you doing to mess up potatoes?
I can't do it. I cannot make French fries.
Potato challenged.
I am potato challenged. I'm telling you.
I bought this new, I'm so excited because I bought this spiraler. And I really got it because we had so much zucchini and squash that it was ridiculous this year. And I wanted to make zoodles.
They're so good.
I'm so excited. But it has a cutter thing on it that's called Arby's curly fries.
Will
Look out.
you send me that link? I need to know where you got that.
I got it off of Amazon. Amazon. It was about $27, y'all. And so really not that terribly expensive. And literally all you do is you slide in this, you put your potato there, and you turn it, like crank it, and it makes long curly fried potatoes that you do have to cut and separate. But I want to try canning curly fries as well. Because that is one thing. Listen, as we were talking about doing this episode, my thing before I really started canning and dehydrating was I was big into meal prepping, to where I would cook all the food, I'd put it in the meal prep containers and freeze it. So you could pull it out, you could heat it up, and that's not a bad way to do it either. So if you're listening and you do that.
That's a great part of our that we could add to this episode right here. Let's talk about that next, but keep going.
Well, I'm just saying, that we all talk about, if the grid goes down or if your electricity goes out, the freezer, it does make you a little uneasy if you have $500 worth of meals prepped in your freezer. But I have not mastered. I've mastered everything else that we eat, canning and dehydrating and vacuum sealing it, except French fries. Now, I've done the hash brown little potato things, but I want French fries. I want like thin McDonald's style, salty to where I can feel my blood pressure go up as I'm taking a bite, French fry canned on my shelf. That's what I want.
Okay, they add sugar to their fries. So on the reels, you're going to have to add some sort of sugar if you want it to be like that.
And beef powder. There's beef powder in their fries.
They add a lot
probably crack cocaine.
Yeah, there's they add a lot.
Cracker Jacks? No, not Cracker Jacks.
They add a lot of stuff to their French. You do not want their French. You just go get them at the drive-through, the real drive-through every now and then. But yes, I agree. I want French fries. I literally have bought so many 10-pound bags. Eric, if you're listening, earmuffs right now. Do you know how many bags of potatoes I've bought and that I've watched like half of the bags?
Where do you get your potatoes from, Monica?
The Costco.
The Costco.
Why don't you take them wrinkled sad potatoes and plant them? Make some chips. And
I ain't got no place to plant potatoes right this second. Although I am gonna plant in the spring because whenever you plant the potatoes around here, I need to look that up. But I am gonna plant. I think it's like January, February here. So I am gonna plant potatoes this coming year. But I really have wanted. You like literally asked the question of that's been on my list of things to do. I don't write it on the chalkboard because I'll ignore it. But chips.
Let's do French fries, guys. It's a challenge.
It's so on. It's on like Donkey Kong.
And listening to Cayce talk about how he does his little diced potatoes and pops them in the air fryer. Now I want some seasoned potatoes with
Yes.
cheese sauce and sour cream and sauce. I want nachos.
Oh my
I want
gosh.
potato nachos.
Potato
right
fry.
Potato
Like, yes.
I'm so hungry.
Yes.
Nacho fries.
Yeah, this is why we call it unscripted, because we have now gone off on a potato tangent, and now one of us is going to
rails.
But let me tell you, you can have those potato nachos. One thing that I love to buy from August and Farm, I'm a huge August and Farm purchaser, is their cheese powder, their blended cheese powder. I make a good Velveeta style, not really Velveeta, but Velveeta style cheese dip from the powder. You do the powder, you do your homemade Rotel, homemade canned jalapenos and water, add some water to it, mix it up. But you also can make that cheese sauce that Alicia was talking about. I did a video. It's funny because I was looking back at my older videos before I started truly getting into the homesteading community. And this was back when I was a baby homesteader and we hadn't even bought the property or anything. I made a video on making homemade Lunchables. Were y'all's kids, or were you into like the nacho, the pizza Lunchables, the cracker Lunchables at all?
Yeah, how people look, I like cold pizza just as much as the next person.
Oh, I love cold pizza.
But I ain't making cold, nasty pizza from a Lunchable, okay? I'm sorry.
I heat mine up. And I said that on the video.
But you can't
I heat my pizza
but not at the cafeteria in school.
Oh, go ask your cafeteria lady. Say, excuse me, ma'am, would you put this in the microwave that we know y'all got back there in the kitchen? Because every kitchen should have one.
Kids are not doing that.
But
At least I wasn't.
This nacho sauce that we're talking about, I found a fabulous recipe from the August and Farm cheese powder, and I made that yellow nacho cheese sauce that I put in a little cup with chips and homemade salsa, and I had homemade Lunchables. I did 3. Me and Mom did it. We made the homemade pizza Lunchable where I made everything. I usually make my own cheese for those that follow, but I didn't this time. But it was the cheese and the pepperoni were not homemade, but everything else was homemade. The nachos, and I made the ham, cheese, cracker, and homemade pudding. I'm telling you, all of these convenient foods, you can do it for your children too. Listen, just because you have to grab a Lunchable because your life is busy, we're not food shaming you. We're saying maybe take a day out of the week. That's what I did. I took Sunday when I got home from church and I would prep food for the week. And that's all I did, to make sure that I had the food that when I needed to grab it out of the freezer or grab it out of somewhere, it was there, it was healthy, it was from home. So I wanted to throw that too.
They're just grown up Lunchables.
I love that. That's a 2-year-old video. I just saw it. I just kind of peeped at it real quick and put it in my watch later list. Well, I like that you taste tested it too with Mom. Like you and your mom sat out there and were chowing down on it. We
did, and that was after frozen for a week. It was froze it for a week, and then we thawed it over a day just to get the full. Did it get freezer burned? And this was $1.25 tree containers, y'all, that I got, and they were precious. I still use them.
See, that's the thing. That's what I like to see. I need to see people following up with, did it taste good? Because I'm gonna try, but there's also a certain sense of, I also don't want to spend money on something that may be terrible, because money is very precious right now. There are a lot of people that don't have that extra money to try new things, because if it is terrible, then they've now wasted $30 or $20 or whatever it is to try that new thing, and they can't return it. You can't be like, oh yeah, I tried this but didn't like it, so I'm going to bring it back to Walmart. Now Costco takes everything back, but Walmart doesn't. So
Well, you bring up a good point, because we shared in an earlier video, I tried the August and Farms black bean burger mix, and I got it in the number 10 can. And I told my husband, if we like this, the 4-gallon buckets are on sale. So we tried it. I made a meatloaf out of it. It was very good. And so we bought the 4-gallon bucket because we know that's something that we are going to like. So it is important to start something in small quantities, see if you like it, See if you're willing to put in that little bit of extra. I know it's so easy to just jump back into the whole convenience things, but there's so much better when you build your own little pantry drive-through, beep, beep, that you can handle yourself and know what you're feeding yourself and know what you're feeding your family and just move forward from that point. I just did meals in a jar with spaghetti, the noodles, the tomato paste, the powder, the garlic, the onions, the red peppers, the green peppers, celery, carrots, all of that is in a jar. And I just dump it out and add 2 things of water, just like Cayce said, and it just cooks up like spaghetti. I don't have to do the noodles separate. There's one that I really like to do, and it's like a bow tie pasta with Alfredo sauce and little freeze-dried peas. The peas that are really super green, not like the mushy peas you get out of a can. That is so good. It's so yummy. There are just so many different things that you can do. So I'm really glad that we breached this subject. I had something to say, but it just flew right out of my brain, as often happens. So I'm going to throw it over to Monica, because it looks like Monica is just chomping at the bit to throw in on what I just said.
Well, I wanted to say too, we talk about Augustin Farms, but there are other companies. You have companies like Thrive. I think it's Thrive Life or something. They are like more of like a multimedia marketing or multi-level marketing type thing, an MLM company, I think, where they have people that are advocates or whatever. Anyway, you can buy from companies like that. You can buy on Amazon. You can buy the Augustin Farms. You can buy the Hoosier Hill Farms. There are different companies that sell freeze-dried, dehydrated vegetables, fruits, things like that. So if you want to take baby steps and you want to order from a place like that, go for it. Now, if you don't have the time or energy and you don't want to buy in bigger quantities, find those smaller quantities. Start something small. Go just look at the flour and the sugar and the baking powder and all those things, put that together and make your own brownie mix in a jar. Trust me, it is so much cleaner than the junk you buy at the store. But sometimes it's scary to try something new, but just reach out and try it. And again,
Go on with a friend.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Look, when my mother-in-law and I, years ago, I'll never forget, like 15, 20 years ago, we made our own homemade Christmas gifts, and we made cake mixes in a jar or cookies in a jar. It was like monster cookies in a jar. And all you had to do was add, an egg and some water and some oil. And I'm like, people, we did this years ago. And we thought it was cute. We dressed them up and put them as little gifts. Now I can make them and keep them on my own pantry as a gift for myself when I need it later, because, it may only be $1 for that cake mix last year, but now it's $1.50 or whatever it is. And it's getting more expensive to buy each year, and it's not going to go down. Things are not going to reverse in price.
No. And hello, your neighbor down the street has a baby, or they've had something happen in their life where they need just a little extra love. It's already on your pantry shelf.
Yeah.
You grab one. I mean, you've gifted it to yourself, but you've got extra to take care of your neighbors as well.
Yeah.
And it's nice when something happens, like, what am I going to do for my neighbor? You've got it right there.
And you can buy the stuff at the Family Dollar or the Dollar Tree. There are small packets of dehydrated fruits and vegetables and things like that if you wanted to make
$1.25 tree.
The $1.25 tree. But you can start off and buy. And there are people online. I follow a lady that only buys things from the $1.25 tree and Family Dollar and like the Dollar General. And she buys things only from those locations and makes meals for her and her husband the entire week. And I'm like, what? You just made meals, like full meals, like just from that. And I'm like, that's amazing. So if you have a desire to do certain things, you'll find a way to do it. And like I said, you can start small. Nobody expects you to make 35 jars of pancake mix and that you're not going to like any of it. And you may only need a smaller jar. You don't have to make a quart jar. If I'm making for my family, I'm going to make a quart jar size because I'm going to need all that. I'm going to have to make a double or triple recipe of pancake mix that I normally would make. But you may not need that large of a quantity. Start small, see if you like it. And when you like it, man, just go for it, because it's so nice to be a busy mom or a busy dad or a busy whatever you are, homesteader, and just to be able to come in from being outside, whether you have kids, whether you just had a long day at work, or whether you've been in your garden or in your field with your animals all night, to be able to come in, grab something right off your shelf and just do it. Because I'm going to tell you right now, going through the drive-thru from where I live is a lot more work than just going to my pantry.
That's right. And we're talking food, but you can make your own simple syrups so that you can throw together a really nice little lemonade. I made
Yes.
some ginger simple syrup, so I could add some ginger simple syrup to some different lemonades. There are things that you can keep in your pantry there for drinks as well.
For your soda stream.
For your soda stream. Everybody here loves soda stream. I don't have one yet. But thank you
Oh
so
my
much, everybody.
God,
I think
friend,
we're
you have to
just
get
about
it.
I
Yes.
need to.
Peer
I
pressure.
know.
Get a soda stream.
I had something like it back in the day. But for me, it's just because I can't have all that sugar. So I have not done that yet. But someday I will. But I want to thank everybody. I think our time's just about up. If I can get a nod from our Cayce producer there, I think we're at time. So Monica was the last one at the drive-through window, and I'm going to say from the drive-through window here at Round the Hay Bale, hey y'all, hey Monica, could you please pull forward and we'll bring your stuff out to you just as soon as it's done. And that gives me the perfect opportunity now that Monica has pulled forward in our drive-through to tell you all to remember to check out Kelzyme. Kelzyme is a sponsor for our podcast, and we just love it in our gardens. We love to use it. It's great for your gardens. It's great for your animals. So many great things you can use Kelzyme for. We're so grateful that they are a supporter of our podcast and our drive-through. We love it so much. And if you've enjoyed this podcast, make sure that you give us a thumbs up, give us some feedback, make sure you follow us and subscribe. And don't forget to head on over to Facebook tomorrow morning for our Hey Y'all Hey radio hour, where we kind of go over everything that we discussed in our podcast here today. And we're going to have some giveaways. Who knows what we're doing? We're always doing something over there. And we do member shout outs. We shout out the members of that Facebook group, some of their comments, some of their posts. We highlight them because it's their channel. We love to give them a shout out and just show everything that they've been up to. We're so proud of everybody's efforts there. So having said all of that, boy, did I just throw all that out there. That was just like a appetizer platter, wasn't it, from the drive-through here? All kinds of stuff to talk about. Until we see you again here on our podcast for next week, make sure you take care of yourself, take care of each other, have a great week, and we will see you again next time round the hay bale. Hey, y'all, hey.